Everyone. I'm John. I am the head of the selection department here at App Academy. Basically, I run the interview and review process for applications. With me are Eden and Michael. They're two of our interviewers, and they're going to show you basically what to expect with a technical interview and some of the do's and don'ts. After they're done, we'll have a chance to answer any questions you may have. So below, I believe it's over here, there's a little chat. Go ahead and post any questions you have there, and we'll be active on chat answering those. And also, I'll have a chance to go and speak to them after Michael and Eden are done. So, Eden, you want to take it from here?
Sure. Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, so my name's Eden. Michael and I are both on the interview team here at App Academy, and we're really excited to demo a tech interview today. We're going to try and make this look as real as possible within reason. You know, I'll be kind of breaking the fourth wall to point out things that Michael does that I think are really good. So I'll be playing the role of the interviewer here, and Michael will be the interviewee. And then, yeah, after we're kind of done demoing this, we'll send it back to John for just to answer any questions. But yeah, without further ado, I guess we should jump in. How's it going, Michael?
Hey, Eden, how are you? I am doing good.
Cool.
What about yourself?
I'm doing well. Yeah, excited, ready for this interview. So we use HackerRank as far as kind of shared code editors. So I've just sent you a link on HackerRank. To a HackerRank. So if you sign in to that, follow that link, and then just sign in as a candidate.
All right, cool. I am in.
So I see you are on the code pair. Perfect. So if you navigate over to the Scratchpad, great. So I've pasted here. These are, you know, the official formatting instructions for how these interviews will go. So take a minute and, you know, read these over. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. I will. All right, it looks like from the instructions, we're going to have 3 problems. Each will be given 15 minutes to solve. One of them will be a pair programming experience. And before I try to answer the problems, I'm supposed to give like a high-level overview of how I think I should solve the problem. Is that right?
Yep, that's perfect. Yeah, so we'll be doing 2 solo questions first. And then we'll do the pair programming question, and I'll give a little bit of more information about pair programming once we get there.
All right, great.
Cool. So if you don't have any other questions about the instructions, you can go on and move over to the question 1 tab. And so before we start, what language will you be using?
I'll be using Ruby today.
Okay, cool. So I've set the editor for Ruby. Great. And so what'll happen now is I have your first question. Once you give me the OK, I'll paste it in this box and start your timer. And then just like you said earlier, you know, before you jump into the code, make sure you read the prompt, understand the full scope of the prompt. Don't have any, and if you have any questions about it, please feel free to ask. But before you actually jump into code, if you can just give me like a high-level strategy of what your plan of attack is, and then from there you can jump in. Okay?
All right, sounds good.
Cool. All right, so here is your first question. Good luck.
All right, valid walk. You have a walking robot given a string of compass directions like NESW or NNSSEN. It will travel 1 mile in each of those directions. Write a method to determine whether a set of directions. Ooh, all right. I like to write out my thoughts. Is it okay if I can, you know, throw some comments in there?
Totally. Yeah, yeah. Do you have any questions about the prompt?
You know, I'm not good with directions, but you know, I think I'm just gonna try to like work it out and just spitball some ideas that I got coming to my head, and then we can like work from there. So, okay, well, it's asking us in the end to ultimately determine if this robot is going to end up in the same place it started, which means it needs to move up and down the same amount of times as much as it's got to move left and right the same amount of times. So
right.
North and south must be same. East and west must be same. Okay. All right, maybe I could use some type of like iterator with the input and, you know, have like a vertical variable that determines whether or not I'm going up or down, that I can increment or decrement depending on what I run into, and same with left and right. So for example, if I find an N, I'll add 1 to that number. If I find an S, I will decrease that number by 1. Same with east and west. If I find a west, I'll add the number, or like reduce the number by 1. And with east, I will add the number by 1. And at the end, you know, if they got something there, then we can return true. But you know, I gotta write the code. I'm still very, very nervous about this problem.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, take deep breaths. Like, that sounds like you know, a valid way to approach the problem. It is a little. Do you think maybe you could like reframe the question in your mind a little bit, and you know, just take a step back and think about what exactly you're trying to accomplish in the question?
I don't know. Okay, maybe instead of like having to worry about like if the vertical and horizontal variables equal 0, maybe I could just see if north and south are the same, and if east and west are the same. Like if I go up twice and if I go down twice, then I know I should vertically be in the same spot. And I think that can still apply with east and west. So maybe that might be a good frame of reference and starting point.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a good point to start on. Just gonna cut in really quick. So anyone watching, guys, things I really liked right off the bat. Michael's doing a great job talking out loud, just thinking out loud. It really gives the interviewer. Ultimately, we're here to kind of get a view of how you think through a problem. And so the more vocal and verbal you are about kind of your problem solving, the better we can gauge kind of your problem solving skills. And then also, you know, talking out loud like Michael's been doing, and kind of writing these little notes to kind of create steps for himself. I think it can often help like reframe the problem. He was kind of starting to go down this road, which was a little technical, totally valid, but a little heavy lifting with code potentially. And you know, he said he was nervous. I told him to just take a deep breath. It's natural to be nervous. And maybe just like take a step back and really think about what the problem's asking. So I think you did a really great job of doing that. But yeah, let's just jump back in.
Okay. All right. So that's my strategy.
Cool. Yeah. So that sounds like a good starting point. Why don't you start coding?
All right. So first, I'm going to declare the method valid walk. This is going to take an input of a string. I'm going to close that off, so you know it will. I know for a fact we're closing it, so there's no unnecessary error. I will do a, how can I do this? Maybe I can have an array which can like store, like if I run into an N, then it could be like a nested array where N equals 1, and it could be like that. But that may be too complicated too. You know what, a hash I think would work really well here, because then anytime I just find that character within the hash, then I can just like add 1 to it, and that should be all right. So we'll say directions, so that equal to a new hash. I'll put a default value of 0, so then we can just increment it every time, and you don't have to worry about if it doesn't exist. Okay, so we need to iterate through the string. So we are going to do string dot each do character, and end that. All right, we'll do directions character plus equals 1. And then we could take advantage of Ruby's implicit return by going directions north equals directions south, and directions east is equal to directions west. All right, now, all right, how do I run this code?
So you actually won't be able to run it in this demo and in the real interview. Instead of running code, I'm going to ask you, could you maybe walk me through your code with one of these given examples? Let's try this example on line 9. So could you kind of just step me through the code and tell me what's going on?
Okay, so given the input of NENESSWW, I am first, of course, creating this new hash called directions. I'm going to look at that string. I'm going to look at each. Oh, okay. So I made an error here, which is that I use the each enumerator method. It should be each char because it is a string data type, and each would work on something like an array, but we want to look at each character. So I need to switch that up. Now, if I just pick up where I left off, I think this should still be okay. So I'm looking at that n. For char represents n right off the bat, and I'm going to say, okay, directions at n. If it hasn't been declared yet, that's fine because we have a default value here. So we're just going to add 1 to it. That'll equal 1. For e, same deal. We're going to add 1 to it. So we got n equals 1, e equals 1. Run into n again. We got n equals 2. E again, e equals 2 now. We have two s's back to back. So we got s is going to equal 1 at first. That second s will now equal 2. And then we have 2 west. So we're gonna, that's ultimately gonna end up having a value of 2 as well. I wish I actually like typed that out so I could make sure I kept track of the same numbers. I'll try to do that next time. But I think at the end we'll have, I think this will actually pass because n will equal 1 or n will equal 2. Same with south. And for east and west, those also result in values of equal to 2. So I believe this would return true.
Okay, great. So guys, again, Michael's doing a really great being vocal, talking out loud. We will often, when you come to a solution, we will almost always ask you if you can step us through your code, you know, line by line, asking what the variable values are at each line. And as you can see, it's often a really helpful exercise. Michael was able to catch like a bug that he made by calling each instead of each card, just by kind of re-looking at his code and stepping through everything. One thing, a trap that I think it can get easy to get caught in when you're stepping through your code is assuming that things work. And that's a really easy way to miss bugs that you wouldn't have missed if you were really at it, at really checking every single line and asking yourself, okay, what's the value of this variable now at this line? I mean, we'll do more demo, like more questions where Michael will step through more code, but I think he did a good job of that on this example. But jumping back into the interview, so cool, Michael. So you've got a few more minutes. You know, we can use that time however you want. You're welcome to refactor or try and optimize your problem, or we can maybe step through another example. Or, you know, if you like, we can just move on to the next question.
Okay, well, there's one refactoring that I think I could do here, just to take out 2 lines of code. I think this block of code right in here is pretty simple. So I'm just going to take that out. I'm going to move that all that way. We'll go like that. And now we have just 3 lines of code. I still believe the readability is the same. And yeah, I think I'd be happy with this.
Sounds good. Cool. Yeah, that looks great. So I'm going to copy this over. If you're happy with this solution, we can move on to the next question.
We are good to go.
Cool. All right. So I'm making a second tab now. So you should see a question 2 tab pop up.
All right. I'm good.
And yeah, so this will be a solo question just like the last one. Again, before you start coding, make sure you understand the question. Let me know if you have any questions about the prompt. And from there, if you can just give me like a high-level strategy before you jump into code. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. All right. So you ready to go?
Yep.
Cool. Here's your second question. Good luck.
Missing numbers. Given an array of unique integers ordered from least to greatest, right function determines which integers are the consecutive set. All right. So, okay, it was a little confusing at first, but you know, these examples paint the picture well. So, given an array of integers, we are expecting that there are missing numbers that kind of like, if included within that array, would allow this array to be perfectly incremental, as in you can add 1 to every value and it would equal the next element in that array. So like in this example, we have 1 and 3, it's missing 2. So that's over here. We got starting at 2, we have 3, and then jump straight to 7. So the answer for this problem is, of course, you know, from 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I'm thinking, what are the possible ways I could find those missing values? I could type notes again still, right? All right, great. So I'm gonna say I can do, let's see, maybe like a range from the minimum value up to the maximum value. And I could, you know, iterate through that range and see if number is included in the original input.
Okay.
I think that makes sense.
So how are you going to get the minimum value and the maximum value?
Well, from these examples, it looks to be in sorted order, so I can either grab using the Ruby method first. I could just like invoke first on the input array as well as last on the input array. But just in case no, I think that still holds true because we're supposed to assume that these numbers are supposed to be going sequentially. So I think that would be fine. But in case it's not, I believe Ruby does have some way of grabbing min and max, but I don't remember what those are.
Okay.
I guess it would make sense just in case it's not in sorted order. Do you know the method to grab the minimum and maximum value? Is that all right that I ask you about that? Because I know there's one definitely that exists.
Yeah, so there is one. I'm not going to give it to you. I want to see if you can come up with a different way of, because all these ways of doing these things, there's so many different ways of doing it. So there are several different ways you could do this. So I want to see kind of how your problem solving skills are as far as writing that solution yourself. But just to kind of step out of just to the audience right now. So it's like really important to, read the prompts. Whenever you see like words like unique or words like ordered from, like these are really good kind of context clues in these prompts. So like in this prompt, it tells us that it's going to be in order. And usually if the prompt says something like that, you should definitely pay attention to that. It could be a hint. But yeah, so yeah, just jumping back into this. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
My subconscious has told me that during that time, it is ordered from least to greatest, so I could just grab the first and the last inputs of this array to help me solve this problem. So that said, I'm gonna use the first and the last Ruby methods to grab what is presumed the least valued integer and the greatest valued integer. I'm going to create a range from those 2 points. And then any number that I'm on that is not included in the original input, I will store into some variable like an answer array, and I will return that at the end.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good approach. Why don't you jump in?
All right, I'm going to declare a method. I'm going to call it missing numbers. It's going to take in an array. I'm going to end this, play it safe. As I said before, I need to create the range. I'm going to say minimum equals array dot first. I'm going to say max equals array dot last, not lax. I'm going to create that range from min up to max, inclusive, because I guess it doesn't. Should I do max? It does. I don't know. I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna do dot each. I'm gonna call this num. I'm gonna end that to make sure that closes. I'm gonna say if array dot include num. Oh, I'm missing something. What am I missing? I am missing an answers array that I need to return into. That's cool. So if array dot include num, answer dot push num.
Mhm.
Else, nothing. And so I guess it could be just a one line if statement. That should be good. All right, and then I want to return answer. And that should be good. I think this does it.
Sure. Cool. So could you maybe step through this with one of these examples? Let's try this one on line 8.
All right, cool. Array. So I start off my method by finding out what the minimum and the maximum numbers are. So I say array dot first, which so happens to be 2. I do array dot last, which so happens to be 7. I'm gonna set that equal to max. I have this answers array I'm ready to turn in. I'm creating this range from 2 up to 7, and I'm gonna check out each one of those numbers represented by this block parameter called num. And I'm going to say if the array includes num, we are going to push that number into the answers array. It will go through everything and then return answer. Oh, wait, hold on. Array.include, that means that this number is included in the array. So we actually want to say if the array doesn't include this number, that we're going to actually push it into the answer value. So going through this set, we're starting at 2, right? Is 2 not included in this array? Nope, we're going to skip over. Is 3 included in this array? Yes, so we're going to skip over it. Is 4 included in this array? It's not. This will ring true, and we're going to push 4 into answer. Now we're going to be at 5. Same thing applies. We're going to push 5 into there. 6. Doing it one more time. We're going to push 6 into that answers array, which is now going to be 4, 5, 6. Now we're at 7 inclusive because of the max, and it is included in the array, so this doesn't result true, and we're not going to push it in. Then we're going to hit the end of this iterator right here, and now we're going to return answer, and that should be correct, and that should work across the board.
Very cool. So guys watching, again, like Michael's just done a great job, continuously talking throughout the interview. I know for not everyone's super comfortable with typing and talking at the same time, and that's totally fine. As long as you let your interviewer know that kind of going in, you say, I'm not super comfortable talking and typing at the same time. Is it okay if I either, talk strategy first and then code, or, code things out bit by bit and explain them immediately after? That's a totally fine workflow too. Just, let your interviewer know. But also, I like stepping through the code again. We saw again that Michael was able to catch a bug, like a tiny bug that he had. He had like 90% of the solution totally good, but he had this little bug. And really stepping through line by line and saying it out loud. Sometimes if you say it out loud, it sounds wrong or whatever, and that's a good hint that it's a bug. But he was like, yeah, if the array includes this number, then I'll push this number. Oh wait, no, it's the opposite. So talking out loud and really going line by line when you're stepping through your code, those are keys to success. But yeah, back to this interview. So yeah, looking good, Michael. So we actually just ran out of time on this problem, so I'm gonna have to copy this and move on to the next one. So I'm making a question 3 right here, and this will be a pair programming question. So have you ever pair programmed before?
I have not.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so just like a brief overview of pair programming. It's really important here at App Academy. It's something you'll be doing every day if you end up going to school here, and it's a really great way to learn and to teach at the same time. So it breaks down to 2 different roles. You have the driver and the navigator. The navigator's main role is to be communicating with the driver line by line, kind of telling them what to type each line. They're not touching the keyboard, the navigator. The driver, on the other hand, is the one actually at the keyboard typing away, listening to the navigator, and kind of going through and writing the code with them. The most important thing about this exercise is communication, so please keep that in mind. It's really important to try and stay on the same page as your partner. As the navigator, you should be providing a lot of ideas, but you should also be open to alternate ideas from the driver, And then if you're the driver, you shouldn't be afraid to ask for clarification on things, offer alternate suggestions on things if you think something's a really good idea. It all just comes down to communication is key and staying on the same page with your partner. So for this exercise, you will start out as the navigator. So you'll be telling me what to type, and then about halfway through the exercise, we'll switch roles. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. And then just like the last two questions, before we actually start coding, let's kind of just hash out a high level strategy. Okay?
Sounds good.
Cool. So let me grab our question. Cool. So I've got our question. So you ready to go?
I am as ready as I'll ever be.
All right, cool. Here's the question. Good luck.
Sequence search. You are given two strings, a sequence and a key. Write a function that determines how the characters of the key appear in order, contiguously in the sentence. All right, so this question is asking us to look at two strings and to see if in the first string we can make out the word in the second string in that order, but not necessarily side by side.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that paraphrases it appropriately. Okay, so for strategy, what if we split up that second character using the split method and then iterated through that array to see if it's included in the first string?
So split up, for example 7, split up cat into CAT, and then
see if each of those is included in the first string.
Okay, yeah, I think that'll work. We'd need to look at them one by one, right? Because we want to make sure that they're in order.
Oh, you're right. That would actually not work, because if I'm just checking to see if it's included, then as long as it has the same characters, there's a possibility it may break the principle of it not being in the correct order.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. So what if we instead treated the second string like we shifted that first character off from that string, like we have C by itself, and we iterate through the first string like one character at a time, and when we run across that C for the first time, we know, okay, we ran into the C. That's cool. So we're gonna, discard that. Shift off another character from that second string, which will be A. And if we run across that A, we could, be like, all right, cool, we got that too. And then we shift off at the final time the T. If we run across that T before we've evaluated all of the characters in that first string, then we know for a fact that yes, that second string is for sure included in that first string sequentially, but not necessarily contiguously.
Yeah. I think as long as we kind of keep a pointer on the first string, and whenever we find a letter we're looking for, we stay at that spot in the string to keep going forward. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm happy with that as far as starting. You want to jump in to start coding?
Yeah, but I'm not typing, right? You're typing.
So yeah, what should I type?
Okay, so you gotta declare the method first. You're gonna say def sequence search. You're gonna take in two arguments, so that's gonna be string 1 and string 2.
String 1, string 2.
Do you prefer using the word instead of string?
I think it might be a little easier to read when we're in the middle of the code.
All right, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I will for now. So let's put word 1 in there, and we'll put word 2 for the second argument.
Or key or something. I just think 1 and 2 might be easy to forget.
That's semantic. I like that. Sure. Yeah, let's use key for the second.
Cool.
All right, I like that. All right, sweet. So we need to now be able to figure out exactly, what's the first character that we're looking for. So we're going to want to shift off one while we like define a new variable called character, and we set that equal to key dot shift.
Okay.
All right, great. Why don't we set a counter variable like I equals 0, so we can use a while loop to iterate through the word, and we'll do while I is less than word.length.
Okay.
Let's close that off with an end statement. Let's keep style. All right, let's see. If, I think we're going to have a conditional here. It's going to be like if word at I is equal to character, then we're going to say character equals key dot shift again.
Okay. So if word at I is equal to the character, and we're going to do some stuff. We're going to say, sorry,
character.
shift. Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're going to say character equals key dot shift again. We're just going to shift the next character off the key. So then we know we're looking for the right one. All right. Okay. But like, what if key is empty? If key is empty, we know it's true.
Right. So sorry, go ahead.
No, do you want to go ahead? No, it's all right. Let's see. So maybe we should have another like if statement in there that says like if character equals empty string, return true.
Okay.
Or
and
if character equals, I don't know if it's string or null.
So this would go at, let's see, this would go within this if statement, you're thinking? Or
it's possible. Actually, we may have to, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, key.shift might not work. I know shift works on arrays, but I'm not sure if it necessarily works on strings. So what if we said, what if before anything else we said key equals key.2a? We just turn key into an array just to play it safe.
Sure. Okay. So right up here.
Yeah.
Key equals key.2a.
Yes. Correct.
So would that just make an array of the key itself?
Yeah, so the key is a string, right? So by calling 2a on it, it will just turn it into, oh no, we need to use chars.
Yeah.
We need to use chars, which is like essentially like, you know, turning it into an array, separating it by characters. There we go. Key equals key.chars. Now the shift method is going to work appropriately. So that's cool. Okay, actually, I know an easier one. I don't know if key.shift actually returns an empty string or nil. So what if we just say in that if statement, assuming that we've like popped off like the final key, we could say like if key.length equals 0, return true.
Okay. So right here.
Yes.
If key.length is equal to 0, then let's return true. Should I just make that a one-liner?
That would be appropriate.
Cool. Awesome. So we're about halfway through, so let's actually switch roles right here.
Okay.
Cool. So let's see. What do we have so far? So we have this key that it's an array of all the characters that we're looking for, and we're gonna, every time we find that corresponding character in this larger word that we're going through, we will shift off the next key, and we also have a check in there to return true if the length ever gets to 0. Okay. So will this actually, I'm thinking of like just the edge case when we get to the end, and once we shift on the last, like once we call this character is key.shift and shift on the last thing, key becomes empty, but we haven't yet found this last character.
Ooh. Ooh,
Right.
okay. Yes, that is true. Thank you for pointing that out. Then maybe we should um
So
move that conditional like outside of the while loop.
yeah, I think maybe
If
we can just like because character it's really once character becomes nil. Once we call key.shift on an empty string, that's when we
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So this doesn't need to be here because this could return true in a case where this may not actually work.
yeah, I think so. So I think
All
we
right.
can just save that for the end maybe.
Okay. So should I just copy and paste it outside of the while loop?
Yeah. So let's yeah, bring that down to the bottom, I think. Um, and I'm not sure if it's as much the key length being 0 as it is the character being nil
Okay, that
because of
works.
that last. So you know what I'm talking about with like the very last time we key shift and set a character, that character will have a value that we still have to find in this sequence, but the key is now a length of 0.
So if the character is nil, then we know for a fact that we have pulled everything from key.
Exactly.
Therefore, it's going to be right.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, so that seems pretty cool. And so we're going through. Um, ooh, we're not incrementing I, so I think that's an infinite loop right there, right
It
now.
is. It is.
Yeah, let's
So
increment I by 1, just I plus equals 1. Cool. And so we're gonna go through, keep grabbing, the character every time, and once we get to the end, we know that if the character is nil at that point, it's true. Else we can just return false.
could I make one suggestion?
Yeah, please.
What if we just like removed this? Then the Boolean, output of this will just return us whether or not the
Oh
answer is true
yeah,
or false.
yeah. I think that's super stylish. We can go all the way and maybe use implicit returns too.
Ooh. Ooh. I like
Cool.
that.
Awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, we have like a minute left. But do you want to maybe walk through this with one of these toy examples?
Yeah, sure. Can I also make one quick refactor change?
Yeah, please.
We're going to make this a one-line if statement.
Sure.
Less code, that's still readable. It's very nice.
I
All
mean,
right.
yeah, I just thought of another thing. If the key is ever longer than the word, that can just be an auto false.
Ooh,
Maybe
okay.
that's like going over the top, but that could be like a very first check that we make. But let's not worry about that.
All right.
Yeah, let's step through this with one of these examples. So let's say like
Which one?
example 10 with this
Okay.
AAT and CAT.
All right. So our word is going to be equal to cat, and then key will be equal to cat.
Mhm.
Our key is just going to be the this cat, but as in array form. Our character is going to equal the first character of key because we're shifting it, so we're popping it off from the front. We're going to set a counter for our while loop. As long as that counter is less than the word.length, the thing that we are iterating over, which is cat, character will equal key.shift if the word at I equals the character. So for that very first one, our first character that we're going to be examining will in fact be C.
Mhm.
And that is the character that we have set right here. So that becomes true. So we are going to shift off from our key array. So now the new character is going to be equal to A. So
Okay.
now I equals 1. So I at the word at index 1
Mhm.
is also A. So that does match character. So now we're popping off key again with shift, resetting character. And that's going to be a T for this final character that we're looking for.
Mhm.
Add 1 to I, that's going to equal 2. It's an A again. This does not return true, so we're going to not pull a shift on the key again. And then for the very last character where I equals 3, it will be T, which will match word at position I and character. So we will be popping off the key shift one more time which should make character evaluate to nil. We pop out of the while loop. Is character equal to nil? It should be, which should return true.
Cool. Sounds good. Just to those of you guys watching, so yeah, that was really good pair programming. Notice it was very even on both sides. Both of us were really trying to provide ideas and like offering suggestions. It was really respectful and collaborative, and yeah, we were really just ensuring that we were on the same page, and we didn't necessarily like go straight to the right answer. And that's often what'll happen in these problems. Like you'll kind of take a somewhat circuitous approach and like learn a lot as you go, and be able to shape and define your answer as you go. So also notice, the planning phase was really important here. We talked through a couple different strategies and weighed, the options of them. I would say, just main advice for the pair programming exercise on the technical is just making sure you're on the same page as your interviewer. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to say, this particular thing doesn't make a lot of sense to me. What if we try this? It's totally fine. We're really just trying to see like how you can work through a problem with someone. So do you have anything else to add, Michael?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I guess just quickly to summarize before I send it back to John of things that we've tried to highlight here. Communication is key with your interviewer. Try and talk as much as you can and just like explain what you're thinking. So communication is huge. Stepping through your code after you're done is huge. And not assuming that anything works, like really going line by line, making sure that this I is what you expect it to be and this word variable is what you expect it to be at all points. That's huge because it's a really great way to debug. What's another one? Being able to, if you ever get, if you're ever nervous, it's totally natural to be nervous. Recognize that, take some deep breaths. You have plenty of time on these problems, so don't worry about time. Just feel like you're stuck in a problem. Try and just take a step back and maybe, re-look at the examples, the inputs and outputs, and reread the prompt and see if there's anything that maybe you were missing the first time. I think those are the big ones. And I'm sure there are others, and John will, I'm sure, cover them if I forgot anything. But it's been a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, and I'm gonna pass it off to John.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So there were a couple questions that people put in the comments, or rather the chat. There's also a couple more questions that I just common questions that I wanted to bring up. So about this video, we will leave this video up until either we replace it or change our process. There was a previous live stream, which we will be taking down soon. This one's just replacing it. So let's see. So this format that you've seen here is pretty standard. This is our standard technical interview format. We have 2 technical questions, 1 non-technical question. There's a video chat. You work over a collaborative shared code editor, and just make sure that if you look through what they did here, it should give you a pretty good idea of how to go through the process of going through a solo technical problem or going through the pairing session. Be sure to practice those things. We support 4 languages as mentioned on our page and our scheduling information: Ruby, Python, Java, and JavaScript. You can use any of those 4 languages, and you may need to change some of the specific wording of the prompt. Needs to be changed occasionally to accommodate for that language, but it's pretty implicit and obvious what needs to be changed. When you are solving the prompt, do you need to worry about time complexity? This is a question we get. Not really. I mean, as with anything, when you're solving, anytime you're solving a technical interview problem, what you want to do is you want to solve it first. So don't worry about time complexity at the beginning. If you don't know what time complexity is, don't worry about that. That's something we teach at App Academy. It's something that becomes important when you're in the job search. These 2 folks here, our interviewers, are also job seekers. So they know, they've been in interviews. You solve it, you get to a very naive first solution. That's the important thing. And then you think about optimizing and improving time complexity. Uh, let's see. Questions of, do you need to solve the prompts to pass the interview? Usually, yes. Sometimes we make exceptions to that. The prompts are, I think, not so hard that you shouldn't be able to solve them. If you do get stuck, the important thing, of course, is to, first, like if you're hitchhiking the galaxy, don't panic, stay calm, just try to talk it out, right? Verbalize, talk to your interviewer. Your interviewer is there to like help you, and they will often give you a few tips. They want you to be able to. They don't want you to just sit there and be silent, because that doesn't show us anything about how you think and how you code and work with things. So they'll like help you kind of get back on track and get towards a solution. Let's see. Also, another thing you could note is just be careful about scheduling your interview. Try and give yourself enough time to prepare. Don't be too ambitious. Make sure that you have enough time to practice. And some people will schedule their interview for like something really early, and then they'll cancel it at the last minute because they don't feel like they're ready. That happened enough that we ended up having to institute a penalty for doing that, because we ended up having a bunch of availability that wasn't there. Like people wanted to schedule interviews for like 1 or 2 days in the future, and they couldn't do it because people were scheduling them and then canceling them at the last minute. So be aware that that is there. If you cancel it within 2 days of when the interview is, you will be penalized. But that doesn't really become a problem unless you do it repeatedly. Let's see. So I think that's all I have for this. Thank you to our interviewers. Great job, guys. Thank you to all of our stream watchers. Looks like all of our questions have been answered. Great. Have a great one, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.